Mm. Okay, this is about a year and a half ago where I say that there's a major investigation into dating apps, maybe you up, and the investigation is into, well, decoys and Nigerian 234 numbers, which it's a joint operation to demoralise and, well, as you can see, or as you'll be able to see, set up. Um, Here, look. Represents the two natures in man. Now, um, for people on BitChute, for example. Yeah, so I use maybe you up to run tests because you can say anything. I've said many times before, don't believe anything you read. It's all just made up to. It's all just bullshit to basically test what the responses are going to be like, and to draw out. Well, I drew out those who I was after, but they were quite vicious, and like I say, the police give them far too much credit and too much, just like basically it's all their imagination, and they just run with their imagination. But I've said it 1,000 times. Even if I hate the truth, I will. If it's the truth, then Oh. I'll go with it. I'll have to report it. So, as you know, which you've probably been aware, there's been I've been involved in a major investigation. Now, I couldn't have done this without my team, and that's the Angels. Because the things I'm going to reveal to you now were revealed to me basically because you can't see, or we can't see, or even, the spooks can't really see who's hiding behind all of these profiles. For example, child protection. Could it be that these children that are all over these unverified dating apps, could it be that hiding behind these children are in fact, 50-year-old men in the child protection industry have actually resigned because, they feel so ashamed of what they're actually involved in, and it's against everything. Okay, so here I am, like a year and a half ago. It says a year on here, but it was actually about a year and a half ago, saying that I know hiding behind these child profiles on these dating apps, I'm in fact adults, and I told them that at the start, and they, on that basis, they didn't have any right to take my phone and go on a fishing mission. All they'll find is there's no further conversations with children on that phone. There's no illegal pictures on that phone, on those phones, like I say, it's really horrible that they should be going through my private love conversations with Emma Watson, for example, or my private conversations on Facebook or something like that. And that's unfortunately that's what happened. But it's worse than that. I'll tell you exactly what happened now. Which they're supposed to be fighting against, of course. By the way, just to state my position right from the start, everything remains the same. I have never met anyone on a dating app. I have not had any physical contact with a human being since 1994, and I can reveal now, exclusively, that the reason for that is, and I haven't had any children, and again, the reason for all of that is because I knew that at this point in my life, I would be doing something so dangerous that it would be irresponsible for me to have children or have a wife or anything else that may give them a hold over me. So that's why. I want to do all those things. Okay, this is a sacrifice. I absolutely, I've said it before. I just want to fall in love. I just want to fall in love. I want to have a family. I want to have kids. But I can't. Okay, this life has been a sacrifice for this moment or for the next few years, as you'll see. Because what I'm going to be doing is even more dangerous than what I've already done, and I ended up in a 20. Okay, so despite me saying it clearly a year and a half ago and telling the police, although they probably haven't seen this before now, perhaps I should have showed it at the start, but I'm clearly telling you that all the children on that site, or all the 15-year-olds on that site, I know are decoys. I know are adults, and I'm investigating that and the Nigerian 234 scam, which is again massive. And even so, those very same adults that I knew were adults pretending to be children came round my flat 3 months ago. This was. One of them knocked on my door. This was on a Sunday because they work. They're volunteers, as the police will say. But two of them, I've discovered, work for the British government. And like I say, this is I'm holding. My angels are holding responsible British intelligence because, like I say, you were told very clearly by me on here. We had an angel agreement, and the agreement was that I would be, apart from investigating these apps, I would also be trying to recruit, teenage girls and young women to fight and kill all men in Christian religion. Kill being, in the non-literal sense, the first death in Scripture being death to the ego. Radical feminism, basically, and but even so, for some reason, their imaginations, even though I was clearly saying the context was fighting, their imaginations ran wild, and even though, like I say, I knew they were. I've been investigating on the very fact that they are, and that they're working for child protection. And I think it's wrong. I think it's very, very wrong that what they're doing. But it's worse than that because on a Sunday, one of them knocked on my door and pretended that he had a parcel that I had to sign. He then attacked me. No other word for it. He physically attacked me, tried to drag me out my door. I was resisting, and then he called up another 3 or 4 people, and they all basically dragged me out of my flat. A big scene, so all the neighbours came out. I was beaten up, physically assaulted. The man, who I know also works for the British government, he started stamping on my foot, which was I was barefoot, and I had blood all over my foot. And then the woman who had a portfolio, basically just my profiles, asking for, like I said, the context, female fighters, and she started saying she was more concerned, or she was basically, she revealed straight away what it was really all about. They were not happy with my anti-government conspiracy theories. That's why I was being targeted for my anti-government conspiracy theories, and for that reason, what they did, and they lied. Basically, they lied. They said they pretended that I was being violent when I wasn't being violent, and they tried to force me down onto the floor and put my arm behind my back, which they couldn't do. But the older man threatened to kill me. He threatened to throw me off the balcony because I called them a bunch of nutters, and laughed at them. That's why they couldn't show the film footage. They've got camera film footage, but they won't show it because they know I know. And on that footage, I was saying, look, I knew perfectly well right from the start, and I can prove it. And I was telling them to phone the police. I was telling them to phone the police for my own protection, because the older guy was, when I said you were a bunch of nutters, he threatened to kill me and throw me off the balcony. But like I say, they're vigilantes working with. What happened then is that when the police turned up, the reason they dragged me out my house is so I couldn't throw away any evidence. There's nothing on my phones, as they'll find out, as they will have found out by now. In no other conversations, or no attempts to meet children or anything like that. There's lots of photographs of women from dating apps, because I collect their faces, but they're all over 18, and there's no child pornography or anything like that, so nothing illegal. So, like I say, they're working. But the police are working with them. The police came around and handcuffed me,
it's just their 100% their imagination, and they just ran with their imagination. I mean, like I say, I told them what the context was at the police station, and here's proof of what the context is, and that I was investigating them, and subsequently. Yeah, it's just horrendous. They had no right to enter my flat in the first place. They never even asked me before they entered the flat if there was a context, or if I was a investigative journalist or a researcher, which I am, of course. And they never gave me a chance to explain that. And I don't, and therefore they had no right to enter without a warrant for 2 hours, and try and find anything they could do me for. £20 of cannabis. Like I say, I phoned up. They phoned me up. The phone rang 3 times and it was dead. Okay, I don't want a criminal record because I'm being set up. The offensive weapon they've tried to charge me with, or they have charged me with, I should say, it's got a plastic knob on the end and it's hollow. It's a retractable walking stick. Just built by people's imagination, imagining things, imagining I'm doing things which I never was and never have. Two, well, Decoys and a Nigerian 234 numbers, which it's a joint operation to demoralise and well, as you can see, or as you'll be able to see, set up. Here, look.
Represents the two natures in man. Now, for people on BitChute, for example.
Yeah, so I use Maybe You app to run tests, because you can say anything. I've said many times before, don't believe anything you read. It's all just made up to. It's all just bullshit to test what the responses are going to be like, and to draw out. Well, I drew out those who I was after, but they were quite vicious, and like I say, the police give them far too much credit and too much, just like basically it's all their imagination, and they just run with their imagination. But the one woman who was pretending to be a 15-year-old when she was like 45, apart from the fact that she didn't always put up she had her real image, and sometimes you could see her real image, and then she'd put up, actually her daughter. It's disgusting, I know. I did say to them when they came round, shame on you for using children. I think it's really appalling that they're allowed to do that. But like I say, I was trying to. At first I was actually worried, because I thought that it really was a child, and at one stage, she was saying all sorts of things like I'm home alone and I'm worried, and I'm saying, well, I'll send a woman round. I'll send a female round to check on you if. I was really genuinely worried for her, and then. After a bit, it became apparent she was a decoy. Well, I saw a photo, and right at the end, I was saying, why do you keep mentioning your age? I was trying to teach her, knowing who she was, knowing that she was a decoy, other reasons why men might, for example, maybe a man, for example, like me, hasn't had any children and would really love a daughter and would just like to be friends, and just why not? Why do single men who maybe are a bit lonely because they didn't have children? Why are they forbidden from? Like I say, I knew at the end anyway, way before the end, that she was a decoy, unfortunately, and there were lots of all the decoys were obvious. I tell you, the main reason they were obvious is the app itself put them right at the start of the loop every time, right in your face. And that's why I know that it's a front for the British government. It's a front for the intel services. Well, one of the reasons. It would only take a few moments to it. It's unregulated, unmodified. It would only take a second to get rid of any profiles which were borderline. Sometimes it's hard to tell. They're playing on the fact that for older men, it's sometimes a bit harder to tell if it's just a young looking 18-year-old or 19-year-old, or it's like I say, I mean, some 15-year-olds. Debbie Ashby was 15 when she, the day before she took her boobs out in the Sun in 1986. She was a local girl, Coventry girl. I knew her. And on her 16th birthday, she took her boobs out on page 3 of the Sun for record sales, apparently. And she could have easily have been 18 or 19. But like I say, they're decoys because they're decoying away, or certainly they're decoying police resources and police time away from the real paedophiles, which are all protected in institutions. And my friend we see some excellent research into Freemasonry and how that's all. Like I say, they're the untouchables, and they unfortunately. They're all above the law. They are, in fact, the law.
Another platform,
Seeing the police and the courts are Freemasons.
Mate Jade, and they started sort of giggling or laughing at things that I said, which were completely true. As if, I said to him, you're stupid. When you get like that, you're stupid. This is the start of the ego construct thing. So you don't get that with women. I mean, I'm telling these women that, I'm Jesus. I'm commanding chief of the armies in heaven. I'm Jesus reincarnated, obviously. And, I'm giving them this whole narrative, which is the truth. And absolutely all of them, I'm accepting it. But if it was men, absolutely all of them would be not accepting it. Now, men don't know yet. For some reason, they can't discern someone who is telling the truth. They can't tell that I'm not, a fraudster. I've never been a fraudster. I've never been like I say, I'm a truther. And so anyway, yes. So I'm very, very happy with, as you know, with women and the way they respond and a perceived truth, because they have angels, and angels, intuitively, let them know through their subconscious, intuitive subconscious. Like I say, all these are ready. They're ready to, first of all, fight all men in Christian religion, forcing them to close down. Because when I say kill,
okay,
you should do, then I'm saying that in a very intentionally provocative way, because really what we're talking about here is, what is misogyny? It's the ego. What is the first death? It's death to the ego, which is death to misogyny. So when I say kill all men, if you give them a good kick so they know they've been beaten, that's the best way to destroy the male ego. Beat them at something they think they're good at. And honestly, they're really not. They're absolutely, most men really, really should have fighting. And like dancing, women, they're better at fighting, they're better at martial arts as well. And these young women, they're very highly motivated with me fighting alongside them and leading them into battle to get some justice here, because, like I say, none of them will let go of Paul. They all failed the Paul test. We know why they failed the Paul test. That's because they just ask me, okay? Everyone's got, what they're doing. They're projecting their vile fucking male ego all over my word, which is the actual fucking problem. Right? And that was the intention. So, it was intended to, sucker them out and get them all in one place so we can destroy them. Because, identify the problem. Religion is the problem. It's the externalization of spiritual mysteries. Okay? It shouldn't exist. They've got no right to exist. They're like leeches onto spirituality. So, like I say, it's being closed down by me and girls, because, the girls are the victims of it. I hope you're getting this, because, when this
Okay, so that's the context of what I'm doing on Maybe You dating app. As you can see, I'm intentionally trying to recruit or empower. So just for context here, I'm asking for. I mean, you can read that yourself. It says that I'm explaining what I need. I'm explaining that British intelligence told me they will turn a blind eye because they know this is the judgment of God. Emma Watson's agreed that she will, get together a load of women and young girls, and I will recruit young girls and women, again from 13 years up, because only if you're good at fighting. There's honestly, go and have a look at the punch videos. There's 13-year-olds punching harder than massive, great big 6'5" men. Okay, and this is all about humiliating men to crucify their ego, and the best way to do that is to humiliate them and beating them at something they think they're good at. So we're literally, it's the radical feminist agenda, because there is no other solution. Unfortunately, we've tried everything else. This is the only way to force this institutional, this judgment time. We're forcing them to close down, and I'm on Maybe You app to recruit girls 13 years and up. Although there aren't any on that are 13. I've not met one. But there are lots of decoys, which we all know about because they've been in the mainstream media. The only people that don't know about decoys are people who are a little bit thick, maybe a bit stupid, a bit simple, who don't read the mainstream media, who perhaps get caught up by decoys. That's why they all have they have like men with childlike minds that they seem to be picking on and bullying on, and everyone's calling them nonce and pedos and stuff. Well, like I say, everyone else knows that these people are on here. Unfortunately, these people are if you put, like I have, I'll just repeat, I am not interested in, or I'm not trying to have, any sexual contact with 13 to 15-year-olds or 16-year-olds. This is about recruiting them for empowerment, empowering them with the truth, which is they can kick the shit out of older men in Christian religion who think they're superior to women and girls, and getting them, in teams with older women led by Emma Watson and me, to fight and kill all men in Christian religion, the radical feminist agenda. So, like I say, unfortunately, because I've put 13 to 15-year-olds or 15-year-olds upwards, these quote unquote decoys. I say they're decoys because they're decoying people away from real child abuse, which is in institutions and in like Freemasonry and the Catholic Church and stuff, which are above the law. So they're going after the low hanging fruit, and they're getting people. They've basically. This is all their imagination, completely 100% their imagination, that they think I'm interested because they've read this, that I'm recruiting 13 or 15-year-olds for fighting, that I'm after them in some of the context. And it's not true. I've had no physical contact with any human being since 1996 in any way, certainly not any children, ever. And like I say, this is all their imagination. There's nothing on my phones. There's no illegal pictures on my phones, and there's no conversations with children or underage girls on my phones. Like I say, it's all 100% their imagination.